Hello, my name is Stefan, and I used to believe in perfect love stories. I met Emma during a rainy afternoon at a small cafe in the city. I was there to escape the rain, sipping my coffee and reading a book. Suddenly, she walked in, shaking the water off her umbrella. She looked around for a seat, and since the cafe was full, I offered her the empty chair at my table. We started talking. She told me she loved books just like me, and she worked as a graphic designer. I was amazed by her smile. It was the kind of a smile that made you feel warm inside, even on a cold, rainy day. After that day, we started meeting often. We went for long walks, watched movies, and talked about everything: our dreams, our fears, and our plans for the future. She was kind, funny, and smart. I fell for her quickly, and it seemed like she felt the same way. One evening, under a sky full of stars, I told her, Emma, I think I want to spend my life with you. She laughed softly and said, I think I want the same thing, Daniel. A year later, we got married. It was a simple wedding with just our closest friends and family. My best friend Mark was my best man. I remember looking at Emma as she walked down the aisle, thinking, how did I get so lucky? Our first 2 years of marriage were like a dream. We traveled to new places, cooked meals together, and laughed all the time. Emma and I made a promise to always communicate and support each other, no matter what. But then I started feeling ready for the next chapter: having children. One evening, I brought it up during dinner. Emma, I said, don't you think it's time we start a family? Her face changed. She put down her fork and said, Daniel, I don't think I'm ready for kids yet. Maybe in a few years. I respected her decision, but deep down I felt disappointed. Months passed, and Emma seemed distant. She started spending more time outside, saying she had work meetings or needed the space to clear her head. She also became very protective of her phone, something she never did before. One night, we were having dinner with Mark. They were laughing and joking together, which was normal since Mark had always been a part of our lives. But something felt off. The way Emma looked at him was different, and Mark avoided making eye contact with me. One evening, Emma told me she had a late meeting at work. I decided to surprise her by bringing her favorite coffee. When I arrived at her office, The lights were off. The receptionist told me Emma had left hours ago. I drove home, feeling uneasy. When I asked her about it later, she said, "Oh, the meeting got cancelled, so I went to visit my mom." Her answer sounded so casual, but something didn't sit right with me. After that evening, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Emma's excuses became more frequent. She would often came home late, claiming she had deadlines or work dinners. Sometimes she smelled like perfume that wasn't hers, too sweet, too floral. I started noticing the little things. Her phone was always face down, and she could never leave it unattended. If I walked into the room while she was texting, she'd quickly lock the screen. Once I casually asked, "Who are you texting?" She smiled and said, "Just a colleague." But her tone felt rehearsed. At the same time, Mark was acting strangely too. We had been best friends since childhood, but recently he seemed distant. He stopped coming over as often, and when we talked, he avoided looking me in the eyes. One weekend, I invited him over for lunch. I thought maybe I was imagining things and wanted to clear the air. During lunch, I asked him, "Mark, is everything okay? You seem distracted lately." He froze for a second, then quickly said, "Just work stress. You know how it is." But I didn't believe him. His hands were trembling as he held his coffee cup. A few weeks later, Emma told me she was going on a weekend work retreat. I felt my heart sink. But I smiled and said, "Have a great time." After she left, I decided I couldn't ignore my gut anymore. I searched through our shared laptop, something I had never done before. At first, there was nothing unusual. Then I found an email hidden in the folder labeled Receipts. It was from Emma to Mark. The email was short but clear. "I can't wait to see you this weekend. I'll make up an excuse for Daniel. Like always." I stared at the screen, feeling like the ground had been ripped from under me. My hands shook as I read it again and again, hoping I had misunderstood. But there it was, plain as day. I didn't call Emma. Instead, I called Mark. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Can we meet? I need to talk to you." We met at a quiet park where we used to hang out as kids. When I saw him, I couldn't hold back. "Mark," I said, my voice breaking, How long has this been going on? How long have you and Emma been lying to me? He didn't deny it. He just looked at the ground and said, Daniel, I'm sorry. It was a mistake. I never wanted to hurt you. A mistake, I said, my voice rising. This isn't just a mistake, Mark. You're supposed to be my best friend. He tried to explain, but I couldn't listen anymore. I walked away, feeling a mix of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. When Emma returned from her work retreat, I was waiting for her at home. She walked in, smiling, but when she saw my face, her expression changed. We need to talk, I said firmly. She hesitated, then sat down. What is it? I placed the printed email on the table. Her eyes widened, and for a moment, she didn't say anything. Then she sighed and said, Daniel, I'm sorry. I never meant for you to find out like this. Find out like this? I said, my voice trembling. You didn't mean for me to find out at all. How could you do this to me, Emma? I loved you. She started crying, saying things like, it's just happened and I didn't know how to stop it. But her words felt empty. The woman I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone I couldn't recognize. After that conversation, I knew there was no saving our marriage. The trust was gone, and so was the love I once felt for her. We decided to divorce. It wasn't easy. There were days I felt broken, angry, and full of questions. But deep down, I knew I deserved better. As for Mark, I cut him out of my life completely. Losing my best friend was painful, but keeping him around after what he did could have been worse. It took time, but I began to heal. I focused on myself, my career, and the things that made me happy. I went to therapy, started exercising, and even picked up new hobbies. Slowly, I found myself again. Now, I can tell this story without feeling sad or angry. I've realized it wasn't my fault. What Emma and Mark did says more about them than it does about me. They made their choices, and I made mine to let go and move on. Today, I'm happier than I ever thought I could be. My life is full of people who truly care about me. And I've learned that sometimes losing people is the best thing that can happen. I'm stronger, wiser, and free from the pain they brought into my life. And for that, I'm grateful.
I hope you liked this story. If you could improve your English a little more, please subscribe to the channel and share this video with a friend. Thank you very much for your support. Take care.